All right, I know, it's been a long time. But before you say it, every YouTuber goes hard for a long time and then they eventually give up. No, I have not been giving up. I'm doing 2 shows a week over at XDA Developers TV. You can see that link right there and check them out. I publish Saturday and Sunday. So I think what the plan here for How to Become TV so far is to do the highlighted, polished versions for XDA, because that's what they pay for, and I'll put the full unedited kind of raw version here for the hardcore among you that really want a lot of detail. And for now they will be free, but you know that YouTube is coming out with subscription models and like micropayment things, so I suspect that the long extended interviews that I get with kind of high profile, hard to get people, there might be like $1 or something like that, or there's a small subscription fee. Let me know how you guys feel about that. If you have any questions in the comments below, talk to you soon. Hi guys, so I had sort of a hard time this week trying to decide on what to do for this weekend shows. Really hard. So, do you think I should just do a news segment on how Jelly Bean has overtaken Gingerbread now, or should I just interview another Android developer? Grandma? But then I had a vision from the Android gods. Wake up, Jace. Wake up, Jace. You've interviewed hacker schools, rated hacker schools, sadly even rapped about hacker schools. But now, Jace, now you must spread the good news and tell the people about a hacker school for our beloved Android. If I do this, can I get an early version of Key Lime Pie? Do it or I'll install a ROM on your device like a rookie and brick your phone. No need to get nasty.
This is How to Become .tv.
Been a teacher for many, many years. I left a few years ago to go back to being a student. Actually did a program in a master's in the learning sciences. I was always curious about how I could make the classroom better for my students. It was, I got hooked on this concept of, there's actually research stuck in the ivory tower that is, hasn't made its way out to educational practices. And so I got curious about that. I decided to go in and learn more about it. And, as I was doing my research for the masters, I was actually working with Starter League in Chicago, researching how people learn how to code, how people learn software development skills. And I got to the point where I had to fully immerse myself to really understand that. So not only was I a student of the learning sciences, now I became a student of an immersive learning program at Starter League. So I got the experience, the full experience of what it's like to be the student, and then also kind of the third-person observer trying to figure out what was actually going on in the room. And so, through this experience, I got really excited about the opportunity to kind of leverage the learning sciences in this new form of education that was arising. These boot camps, these hacker schools, a lot of people are excited about them. I was excited about learning, web development at the time, eventually mobile development. And so I got passionate about, kind of working on these programs, consulted with a few, and then finally brought my longtime friend and now co-founder, Adam Schwemm, who had been developing mobile applications back when, phones were for calling. We got together, and with his tech experience and my experience in creating learning environments, we decided, it was time to build a program together. And that's basically how the Delta program started. We picked Android because it's not out there, and it needs to be. It's the 6th fastest growing job in the U.S., and a lot of people want to learn how to develop for Android applications. So that's where the Delta program started, and that's our purpose. We avoid stand and deliver, or as they call it in my field, sage on the stage. We're not here to kind of talk at you. We're not here to download knowledge to you. It's much more of a collaborative process. So the way it works is you get just as much time building real applications and working on actual fundamental skills. Where you're getting your fingers dirty, you're working on it with your peers, you're learning from them, you're learning from the experts in the room. I'm there to help kind of guide and coach the participants through this process, so they never really feel like they're stuck and isolated. we remove those pieces of the equation. So it's not like, okay, read this, then do this homework. It's much more like, you know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about memory management. How does that work? And then we do exercises together, we collaborate on it, and then we reflect on our learning, and you get to kind of see how that perspective, like I was talking about, how that perspective changes from the novice to the expert. I mean, what makes the Delta program different on our side is the learning sciences. As far as I know, there aren't any other programs out there that are, you know, designed and developed with the learning sciences in mind, applied to the program. But in terms of our participants, what I think will make the difference for them is just the amount of time and care we give to each student. Really, it's like, you know, whether we're answering your questions or planning out what you'll do next. You know, helping you align your career goals with your job search, or even just kind of finding the joy in the work. We're there with you the whole way. Like I said, it is very much like having a personal trainer for 6 months. That's just kind of there to push you, prod you, you know, champion you, help you get up to speed, and then when we get through that process, we help you kind of reintegrate with your family, your friends, you know, reintegrate professionally, identify as an Android developer. And that goes a long way to, you know, being excited and prepared to walk into those interview rooms. Well, you know, I personally love just how much fun it can be. You know, you've got experts in the room who love what they do. You've got passionate peers who are just really enjoying all of the work that they're doing, and you know, even enjoying getting frustrated once in a while. I'm not going to lie, there are some frustrations, and it's exciting to have those people around you supporting you for that. So, you know, in terms of specifically what you're doing, you know, one moment you could be building a talking alarm clock to learn Java fundamentals. Next moment you could be kind of debugging an animation on a weather map or weather app. But you know, and sometimes you're working on the kind of longer term project that you have for publication in the Google Play Store. What's nice about it is before and after the session each day. Before I kind of lead, I personally like to kind of get focused. I lead a meditation group, and you know, some other people have conversations or get excited about what they did the night before and talk about that. And then afterwards, I mean, I love Austin. This is one of the best places we could have chosen, I think, for the program. It's so much fun to really go out and adventure in Austin. So we really encourage and kind of support our participants in going out and engaging in the community that way. Right. So Java by itself, learned kind of out of a book or out of a tutorial, has no real world application. I was a math teacher for many years. It's kind of like teaching math, algebra to you know, high schoolers. They're like, well, how do I use this in my life? What's nice about teaching Java through the lens of Android development is you get to learn Java in the situation that you'd actually be applying it. So the things like, you know, well, when do we need to know syntax, and when can we just use the code complete? What does debugging look like in Java? What are the error messages, and how does that then tell us, you know, what files to look at? So it's not just kind of learning about for loops, it's learning about, okay, what Java is specific to building applications. We want people to get the jobs that they want. And so rather than having kind of a fair or hiring day and bringing companies to the developers, we actually find out, kind of work with the participants in the program and say, okay, where do you want to work, first of all? Is it here in Austin? Is it in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Kansas City? Like, where in the country do you want to work? Or, you know, even internationally, you know, where is it that you'd like to be? What kind of organization do you want to work with? Is it a startup environment? Do you want to be at an agency where you're handling lots of projects? Do you want to be doing freelance? And then we kind of design a template, a list of organizations for you to contact. And then we do the legwork for you. So we get you the warm intro, we get you the interview. That's the kind of thing where it's like, rather than you having to go and go through that process yourself, we use our own personal and professional network to link you with those organizations. And then from there, it's interview coaching, it's you know, portfolio development, working you through that process. It's really, you know, we have this whole 3-month window after the actual immersive piece where we coach you through this entire process. So we're committed to you, you know, beyond just, you know, when you're here with us in Austin. It's basically mapping out your trajectory, finding out what jobs or what previous work experience you've really enjoyed, how that might translate into a professional development environment. Again, we find organizations that are targeted to your specific city or where you want to work, and then what kind of environment you want to work in: small group, large organization, independently as a freelancer. And so, that's kind of the start, is mapping out where you want to go. And then, okay, we build the list of organizations for you. We make the introductions, get you prepared, interview prep, and portfolio prep, and then just kind of walk you through that process. It's basically like, again, holding your hand and walking with you, as you kind of launch this new career for yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. The organizations that we've contacted are so hungry for Android developers that they're really interested in also being a facility for you to continue your learning. And so we check in with them and make sure that that's what they're excited about, because we're training you basically to learn on the job as you go. And so we make sure that we want to check in with your future employers and say, okay, well, are you ready for this? They're going to bring some new learning methods to you, and your whole shop could benefit if you're really into it. So this is the inaugural run for the Delta program, but as they like to say here in Texas, this ain't my first rodeo. I've done other programs with other organizations, and really kind of learned from what works and what doesn't. And we're weeding out what doesn't work, and we're applying what does. Specifically, as an example, is support after the program. It doesn't work to kind of abruptly end. A lot of people get kind of disenfranchised and feel let down because they've been excited about this whole experience, learning with people, and now they're kind of on their own again. So that's where we build in our 3-month window after the program to make sure that you kind of re-enter into your professional and personal life, re-identifying as an Android developer. Yeah, so we have missions for the prep work, and it's really more about where can they get to in their own understanding. So we're taking people from out of computer science programs, fresh out of college. We're taking people with no programming experience in their mid-40s, and we're combining everyone in between. And so in this environment, it's not just about getting to the same level playing field. It's actually more about, okay, how do you take what your language is and how you speak about this and what your experience is, and massage it so that there's some homogeneity on day one, where people are speaking the same terms and understanding the overall environment, what they need to learn, what they know, and they can communicate that with each other. So that's really the goal of the prep work, is that by day one, people can communicate effectively with one another to learn together. Well, really, we check in every week throughout that first month. So we check in with our participants every mission. And so it's really, we're not going to go a month without knowing whether or not things are working or not working. And then we adjust and refine that process. But the goal is to get you ready for day one, and it's not to, find some way to weed you out. It is really supportive in that way, and that, we're getting you set up for that. And then also there's kind of, okay, well, what are your expectations coming in? Are you intending to be, an expert Android developer when, you've maybe not used a computer before? That's going to be too big a schism to cross in 6 months. But we can certainly help you if you're facile with the computer, you know a little bit about the environment, and you're excited about doing this work. Again, I've seen how people can be successful that wouldn't have necessarily thought they could. I've seen a 40-something bartender go through and eventually get a job at an award-winning sorry,
take your time,
tongue-tied.
Yep.
So when it comes to success, it's the people that you don't necessarily expect that actually can be very successful in these programs. I've seen a 40-something person who works in food service go through a program like this and come out the other side as working for an award-winning mobile development agency. I've seen people come from zero coding experience and actually just fall in love with it. They haven't touched code before, but they really love just the syntax and visualizing and problem solving. And it's those stories that kind of keep keep me in the game. I've consulted with several companies. It's those stories that I was noticing that actually got me excited about building the Delta program. Some of the most exciting examples, I think, of people who are successful in this program are some of the international candidates I've seen come through. They're leaving their home country. They're coming to the U.S. As long as they're speaking English, even if the English is not their first language, they can be very successful because it's uprooting themselves and placing themselves into the community and really fully immersing themselves in it. So I had one participant came from India, had been in the States for maybe a couple years, and she was at first she was struggling to kind of communicate in the way that it made sense to her in the learning environment. And what she noticed was like how powerful it could be to open up a little bit and start some dialogue. She actually overcame some of her nervousness in speaking with people and ended up being quite successful in the program. We had another participant came in. He was kind of midway through his computer science program and not really liking it. And he came in. He's like, okay, I don't know, I know a little bit of code, but how do I get better at this kind of collaboration piece? Very very shy, very nervous. And actually, the most rewarding thing was to see him at the end give a presentation of his work. And then come over to me afterwards and say, I felt powerful doing that. It was a complete transformation from the shy kid I met, just 8 weeks previous. A lot of education that occurs either in a university or online happens in a relative vacuum. It's isolated from the actual professional experience of the craft, specifically in things like Android development that just they haven't found their way or filtered into many computer science programs. There aren't a lot of, by comparison, there aren't a lot of online programs for them. And they're just removed from the actual professional practice. So as a learning architect, I come in, I look at professionals. I do an ethnographic study, a cognitive task analysis of what professional developers are actually doing in their day. And what we find is that it's actually 70% of their day is debugging. And another 20% is kind of working on implementing a new feature, and then 10% is kind of overall strategy. And so it's a lot of kind of taking that information and then distilling it, kind of reverse engineering our curriculum from that. So that's where the learning sciences comes in. Is like, okay, well, how do you start with a professional practice? And find the steps between that and the novices coming into the room who are excited about learning that professional practice.
Actually studying. So
one of the things about that's neat about our program is we take the environment that you'd actually be doing your job in. You have a lead developer that's kind of helping you through the implementation of features. You're debugging constantly. You're doing the kinds of practices and you're collaborating in the way that professionals do. So when you get into the job, you're not having to learn that part of it. You've already got that part from the learning environment where you learned the fundamentals and the skills. And so it's a much smoother transition into the work world, into actual application development. And that's kind of what we pride ourselves on, and that's the model that, honestly, we think everyone should be working with. We think universities should be employing that more. We think other education, the online education, should find ways to actually facilitate that experience of, rather than the curriculum existing in isolation, the content existing kind of on its own in loose bits of facts, actually putting it into context. Into the community of actual practice, where this craft is being done, these skills are being employed. Technically, applications for our current program starting August 5th are closed. But if you're watching this video, I'm happy to relax the rules a little bit. If you're interested, you can go to deltaprogram.us, find out more about us. And if you're really interested in applying, do so now. And if we can get you in soon and you're willing to fully commit to getting the month of prep work done in a couple weeks, it's about 60 hours of work. If you're interested in doing that, we can definitely kind of roll you into the application process for now. Otherwise, check us out. Like us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. Again, it's deltaprogram.us is our website. And you can find out more information. We're always happy to answer questions too. I've had a lot of applicants who, or just people who've actually, emailed us and said, "Oh, well, how do I do this on my own? And what steps can I take?" They're not ready for an immersive program, or they're, it's not the right timing for them. And we like to help them too. We like to encourage them and kind of get their questions. So again, now is the time to act if you want to apply. And if you're interested to learn more and want to continue the conversation with us, we're open to that too.
This is howtobecome.tv.